Hello everyone! Patch 8.3, it has only been up on the PTR for a little bit, but some delicious lore has already come out, so I figured to make a quick recap on some of the major stuff that has happened, since there's already quite a bit of dialogue. Do keep in mind that we'll be talking about future patch stuff, so if you don't want any spoilers, then thank you very much for watching so far, and please turn off the video right now. Patch 8.3 continues our storyline. In 8.2, we saw Ny'alotha, in order of his beloved war chief. He led the forces of the Horde and the Alliance right into a trap. In his hands, we see Ny'alotha, blade of the Black Empire. The being once trapped inside, she's been released from it by Ny'alotha. But this blade, it established a connection between Azshara and Sylvanas. Plans are made. Plans to have us come down there and release the old god from his prison. Yet, throughout the adventure, the Horde and the Alliance, they relearn that working together, it's often in the best interest. Together, they end Azshara. But despite the best efforts, the old god is still released from his chains, and not quite done yet with the Queen of the Naga. All the same, allegiances are formed between Team Red and Blue, as they know that Ny'alotha is still out there, but they first had to focus their attention on the war chief of the Horde. Plans were made, we were all ready for another siege of Orgrimmar, until Saurfang decided that victory, it could be earned with one single death. He challenges the Banshee Queen to Mak'gora, a battle that he knew full well he could not survive. But perhaps he could win, playing on her emotions, striking her harder than any blade ever could. He has her expose herself to the entirety of the Horde.
The Horde is nothing!
The whole world can now see, knows now that she does not care about them at all. She only cares about her own plans as she blasts off and leaves them all behind. Those amongst the Horde that decided to remain loyal to the war chief, they find it again at Windrunner Spire.
My bargain with Azshara will yet bear fruit. The armies of Azeroth will fight her master, and he will line their streets with corpses. In the end, he too will serve death. Enough reflection. There are preparations to be made. Nothing lasts. When next you see me, you will understand.
So where does that leave the factions going into 8.3? The Horde is without a war chief, the Forsaken are without a Banshee Queen, the Loyalists are rounded up as we say our farewells to Saurfang. The Alliance and the Horde are going to do their best to keep this peace going after this fourth war, but as we've seen so many times before, there are usually people out there that are not so forgiving. Where in the past we had Jaina, who was like, dismantle the Horde. This time it's Gen Greymane, who couldn't care less about who rules the Horde. Let them destroy each other from within. He wanted his vengeance for what Sylvanas has done to him and his kingdom, and he didn't get it. Tyrande Whisperwind didn't show up for the siege at all. Instead, she remained in the Kaldora lands to reclaim it, get vengeance for the burning of Teldrassil and the genocide of the Night Elves. She too couldn't care less about the aftermath or the changes amongst the Horde. The Black Moon, it still cries out for vengeance, and no tree will be signed unless it's written with the Banshee's blood. Not even her adopted daughter Chandris can reach her. She begs her mother to let go of the Black Moon's rage and embrace the mother's light once again. But for Tyrande, her vengeance will not be sated, so long as Sylvanas Windrunner remains free, so long as she doesn't know why Elune abandoned her children.
I failed to protect my people, but I will avenge them.
Sylvanas seemingly abandoned the Forsaken as well, and it appears that Lillian Voss, she still feels quite a connection to them. The Forsaken are torn by turmoil and doubts. Many amongst them still love Sylvanas, even after all that she's done. Others believe their home remains in the Horde, and Lillian feels loyal to these Forsaken. To be raised into undeath is to be forever haunted by the ghost of your past. A caring hand, it can offer comfort through the pain. Overlord Kajara asked her if she'll be the one to pick up the crown for the empty throne, but Lillian will not rule them. She'll speak for her people on their behalf, or there might be another that's better suited to the task, when the time is right. The development that they've given Lillian in Battle for Azeroth towards the Forsaken, it's quite incredible, especially when you consider where she actually came from. The name that she has in mind, that's most likely Kalia Manethil, as we do see a meeting go down. Kalia wishes to honor her father, who gave everything for Lordaeron, to prove that she's worthy of the name that she was born with. Help those that feel that they're lost. So potentially, we can see Kalia pick up that mantle of leadership and take over from Sylvanas. I do really hope that when the time is right, that means they're going to give her quite a bit more development. Taking over from Sylvanas is a tall order to begin with, and in the case of Kalia, those that don't read the books, you don't even know what happened to her. how there was a meeting between the humans and the Forsaken, how Sylvanas shot her and she was then resurrected by Anduin, Alonsus and Sara Denaru. You don't know that unless you read Before the Storm. In-game, you would only know about her as a priest in the Legion Order Hall, and then in Battle for Azeroth, she just suddenly shows up again. Not impossible to give it that role of leadership, I'm just hoping for a little bit more development.
I am Kalia Menethil of Lordaeron. I will do my best to help you.
We also uncover that the Horde no longer has a war chief. Instead, they're running with a council led by Bane, Thrall, and the others. Not entirely clear who the others might be, how many of the other faction leaders are taking a seat at the council, or if all of them are going to take their place. Will it stick to the core races, or are the allied ones invited as well? Not entirely sure. There's also Gallywix to consider. His loyalty to Sylvanas had him burn papers just before the siege, and it appears that Gaslow is going to take over leadership for the Goblins. I also really wonder how Talungi and the Zandalari, how they're going to respond to this truce. Don't forget that they lost their king during the battle for the Zaralor at the hands of the Alliance. Will they just be able to forgive and forget? Hopefully, we're going to see some datamined dialogue about it real soon. And speaking of the Zaralor, during that raid, we saw that Kevin MacLeod, leader of the gnomes, he took quite a pounding from the Hordes. Forced to use an escape pod, his body was preserved by the mechanisms, but it was unlike any magic that Jaina had ever encountered. His fate was uncertain for quite a bit. But good news for your lovers of gnomes out there, the High Tinker is just fine. He's now standing with Prince Aresmin within Mechagon City. Now crowned King of the Gnomes, he has like this badass Iron Man thing on his chest. It seems that saving his life, it's going to play out in the recruitment scenario, which will add the Mechagnomes as a new allied race. For the Horde, your new allied race to look forward to, there will be the Valpera.
Dolly and Dot are my best friends. They pull my wagon through dunes of sand.
So that's where the factions stand right now. A bit of hostility still remains, but the next big threat, it's on the horizon and going to consume most of our attention. For the first time since the Titans brought order to Azeroth, there's an old god on the loose. Visions of N'Zoth. It will show the old god reaching out with his tentacles, plotting and scheming, undermining all that keeps us safe. With it comes Ny'alotha, something that has been mentioned as far back as the introduction of the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron. It was always shrouded in mystery, a land where there is only sleep. In the sleeping city of Ny'alotha walk only mad things, a city of old, terrible, unnumbered crimes. And yet the puzzle box, it was only the beginning, as more and more references to Ny'alotha were being dropped. Those of you that play during Legion, you might remember Il'gynoth mentioning this upon his defeats.
N'Zoth, I journey to Ny'alotha.
And here we are, Ny'alotha is coming to us. Apparently, it's this alternate world inhabited by the old gods and their minions. It's apparently all around us, just on the side of a thin veil which N'Zoth is tearing down. This sleeping, dreaming city, it is the domain of the Black Empire. Basically, it's Tentacle Headquarters, the thing that I would have loved to see at the start of Battle for Azeroth rather than at the end. Either way, we're going to see N'Zoth's whispers and influences. They're going to be aimed to tighter facilities across the world. The key to containing, controlling, and understanding the powers of N'Zoth. The Titans have always been the world's last bulwark against the assault of the old gods. And so, of course, these facilities, they're being assaulted by the minions of N'Zoth. Assaults are going to take place, one within the Veil of Eternal Blossoms, which, after the events with Garrosh and its destruction, it's finally been healed. A lot of fans really wanted to see the Veil go back to its former glory, and now we're going to see it. Only, sometimes it's going to be a little bit more tentacly, it's going to be a little bit more purple than we remember. When all is said and done though, the Veil will remain healed and beautiful. Now going back to Pandaria, that means running into some familiar characters, like Lorewalker Cho, the August Celestials, there are the Storm Stouts, Taranzu, and even Raden. Kipera once fell to despair when the Titans were struck down, something that the Thunder King, Lei Shen, he took full-blown advantage of. The darkness locked beneath the world also did quite a number on the Keeper's minds, until many years later we showed up and we found him chained in the Throne of Thunder. Per usual, we smacked some sense into him, we got some pretty loots and we went our separate ways. Now, we apparently disturb his peaceful exile, but he does come with some friendly allied Mogu, even female ones, which is awesome to see, considering the twin consort encounter that we had in the Throne of Thunder. These two ladies were once said to be the greatest of the Thunder King's treasures, and rumored to be the only known female Mogu in existence. No longer, it seems. Perhaps an up-and-coming future allied race. Who knows? So here in the Vale, we strike back against N'Zoth's minions, with apparently aiming for the Mokushan vaults, at least according to the presentation. There's quite a bit of heightened technology that we uncovered in Uldum and Pandaria. It's spread across the lands. Now there are other major targets that would be Uldum, home to the Forge of Origination. In ancient times, this forge was placed by the Keepers to help the Titan spirit inside the planet grow. But it's also a failsafe mechanism. In case that the old gods' corruption became too much, they could activate this device and purge the world of all life to give it another try. It can be modified to hit a smaller target, as they did when Leishan the Thunder King showed up. They activated the device to kill him and his forces, which then transformed the land of Uldum into what we see it as today. This forge is what we stopped Elgalon from activating in Wrath of the Lich King. This is what Deathwing wanted during the Cataclysm. This is what Rephion mentioned in his research notes, a weapon against the old gods. And so, this is what N'Zoth is after as well. In the lands of Uldum, we of course partied with the Tolver before. But Sargeras striking the world, it unearthed new tombs. From one, the Amaphet emerged. You might have run into them during your island expedition adventures. They believe that they, stewards of the Titans, that they should control all of the Azerites. They've also been constructing their own brand new keepers. They're working on rituals and all kind of things that we don't want to happen. So they, as well as the Dark Minions connected to the Black Empire, they're going to be our enemies in this zone. From the testing that I've done so far, it does feel like these invasions are still very, very basic, and they need a bit more development time. PTR, well with PTR though, everything is subject to change. Hopefully, some massive developments are still to come. Now by completing these assaults, we're gonna earn our way into N'Zoth's mind itself, an alternate reality that he seeks to manifest across Azeroth. Remember Garrosh during the siege, where he saw Stormwind burning, his enemies had some pikes. It's similar to that. It's what N'Zoth is dreaming about, what he wants reality to be, something that could happen in case we fail. By assaulting these visions, we also assault the old god, which will definitely be beneficial along the way. Now going into the mind of an old god, it's often proved to be quite a strain on their minds, to put it lightly. Not many can witness the visions of the old gods and still remain sane enough to tell the tale. That's where Mother and Rephion's research comes in. The Black Prince, he is back again, a legendary cloak included, which will reduce our sanity loss. Something that's not only handy while playing through these visions, but it's also going to help in our final raid encounter. The materials gathered inside these visions, they can then be spent on Mother's research, so very similar to things like the Chromie scenario or the treasure hunting that we did during Uldum and Pandaria. Each time you go in, you come out a little bit stronger, until you're strong enough to complete the entire scenario. Visions of the Vale, and I also assume Uldum, visions of Orgrimmar and Stormwind. In a party of maximum 5 or all by yourself, you get to witness what life on Azeroth will be like if N'Zoth had his way. You could have a Thrall that drank the blood of an old god, or an Illyria completely succumbing to the whispers and sacrificing her own son. Visions of what might be, and I personally enjoyed the Chromie scenario a whole lot, and I can't wait to play through these ones as well. And all of this is going to lead to a showdown with N'Zoth, as a brand new raid called Ny'alotha, the Waking City awaits. The sleeping city has awakened. For the first time in millennia, N'Zoth sits on his throne within the Black Empire. His armies flood from their dark halls, once again wreaking havoc on Azeroth. As the world shudders from these invasions, a desperate plan is hatched. Champions from the Horde and Alliance are gathered to face this ancient enemy within his own realm for one final confrontation. A confrontation that will decide the fate of the universe. 12 bosses, with the first one standing out right away. Despite all his research, Rephion was still unable to avoid succumbing to the madness that claimed his father. His model looks absolutely amazing, and don't worry, we don't actually have to put him down. It seems to be more of a smack some sense into him kind of situation, as he is mentioned later down the raid during the Dark Inquisitor Janesh encounter.
Release me! Only I possess the means of defeating N'Zoth! Mind your tone, whelpling. A queen keeps her promises. Listen closely, as I will only say this once. For all his bluster, N'Zoth was ever the weakest of his kin. One vestige of their power yet remains that can be turned against him. I would have driven this blade into his foul heart myself, had you not disrupted my plans. No matter. Ny'alotha is yours, mortals. Strike true. Should your first blow fail, you will not survive to attempt another.
So the bargain between Azshara and Sylvanas that had Sylvanas' champion, Nephanos, bring the dagger to the Queen of the Naga, who intended to use it against N'Zoth. When he offered her the deal to save her life, to turn her people into the Naga, she didn't have a whole lot of choice. It was more like a life or death scenario, and apparently she had no intention of staying loyal to N'Zoth. In the raid, she's being punished for treachery, and now hands over Ny'alotha so he can supposedly use it against N'Zoth. The empty blade once again turned into a prison. You kinda have to wonder what she's actually doing right now.
Honor our bargain. Free me to find my own fate.
Go. But the blade must remain to serve my will.
A fair exchange. Shadows guide you, my dear friend. We will meet again. I am certain of it.
Then, as you can see, poor Raden, somewhere along the way, he gets taken into the Black Empire, where he then becomes corrupted by N'Zoth. He now works to make his master's vision of the Black Empire reality. Il'ganos travels, it apparently went fine. As the corruption, he truly journeyed to Ny'alotha, and then we face the carapace of N'Zoth, followed by N'Zoth the Corruptor himself. The raid looks absolutely beautiful. And of course, we'll cover all the boss in detail once the raid is actually live. I do very much hope that there's going to be a twist along the way, as dealing with a released old god in just one single patch, it seems to be a bit disappointing. It has such a huge build-up, and the dreams of the Black Empire just taking over the entire world, us losing the release of potential other old gods. There are so many cool things that they could do with this, they could unleash for the future. Yet the dialogue that we have, it does suggest that we take care of N'Zoth. For example, we have Illyria and Turalyon that are talking with one another, to which the High Exarch asks her if the downfall of the old god, if it brought her at least a measure of peace. But apparently, the whispers did not end with his defeat. In fact, it seems that new voices have joined the chorus, when she thinks of the nightmares that he forced into her mind. And Turalyon witnessed them too, but they didn't shake his faith in her, not for a moment. And then they go on to their job of hunting down Sylvanas and make her pay. Of course, the future is still very much uncertain. Who knows how exactly all of this is going to play out, how these encounters may end. There have even been some that are suggesting that all we see in the final patch is just N'Zoth who is taking over our minds, and then we wake up in 9.0 with a completely destroyed world. The things that the community come up with are always freaking amazing, and time will tell, I suppose. I do wonder, of course there's still more data mining to come, there's still more dialogue to be added to the patch, but I do wonder what the fate of Azeroth is going to be, because Battle for Azeroth, it was not only the faction war, it was not only now fighting over the fate of Azeroth like old gods versus us, there was also the whole healing of the planet, and I kinda wonder how that's going to play out in the end. I haven't really read any dialogue on it so far. Either way, might still come. Now the hunt for Sylvanas, that means that the story of death, that side story has been going on throughout the expansion, it definitely still has its part to play within the next one. Vol'jin Spirit was last seen going into the Shadowlands, trying to find more answers, after he heard from Aegir, the Lich King and Bonsandi, that somebody or someone has been messing with his spirits. Something has pushed him to make Sylvanas the war chief, and then something else has brought him back. Touched by valor, as Aegir calls it, and we know that the Dark Lady, she wants to conquer death.
Before the last shadow falls, the Father of Sleep shall savor his feast.
Not to mention allied race Death Knight models that have been data mined. It surely is an interesting topic that we're going to cover more detail next week, as I had the awesome suggestion of talking about what Bolvar's been up to ever since he took on the crown and became the jailer of the damned. That's for next week. We'll also of course cover more details on 8.3 as they're released. If you want to read up on more of the dialogues that have been data mined so far, for example, there's some really juicy shipping going on. I know how much you love shipping. A link to a WoW article is in the description down below. For now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I asked this on Twitter and Discord already, but I'll ask it here as well. How would you like Battle for Azeroth to end? The majority I've heard so far, they actually want us to lose and crawl away back to glory. Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, see ya!